Welcome to this week's version of Motivational Monday. Today's topic is hashtag loving me, and we're going to be talking about choosing me. So, I think this topic is very, very important, and it was a tough lesson for me to learn because I am naturally selfless. And so, because of that, it felt very selfish to choose me. But what I had to learn was that choosing me allowed me to be there for other people. But if I don't take care of me, who's going to? If I don't have time for myself, then who's going to? If I don't chase my dreams, who's going to? So making sure that I am doing everything that I can to put my happiness first has been a very beneficial, very beneficial paradigm shift. And so understanding that sometimes your job can wait, and sometimes it has to. You have to create boundaries and establish a healthy work-life balance. So if it's 9 o'clock on a Friday night, don't respond to the email. The email can wait, and it will. And making sure that you have that balance. And if you're in a position where you work for yourself, just learning how to balance your client expectations. Like I'll have some clients text me 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, at night rather, whenever they feel like it, or 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they don't get a response until about 9 a.m. And so it's not about being rude or being malicious, but it's about creating that boundary so that they don't feel comfortable contacting you at any time possible, and respecting your space. And you're a better worker when you take care of yourself, when you're not as stressed, when you're not as drained, when you're not as exhausted. And I know I have to have that conversation with myself with regards to being a part of my sorority. I love my sorority, and I love to devote my time to my sorority. And I tell people, some of my sorority sisters, I'm like, the organization will take everything that you give it. If you give it every second of your day, it'll take it. Absolutely. So you have to find that balance for yourself and say, listen, I can't work on sorority stuff today. I need a break. And just understanding that it's okay. It doesn't take away from your love of the organization. And your career will blossom a lot faster if you're not burnt out. And honestly, your health depends on it. Stress and lack of sleep weaken the body's immune system. If you don't put yourself first, your body will kick in and force you to put yourself first. Choosing you will help your romantic relationships flourish because you're happier, you're more at peace, you're not as stressed. Your family and friends will benefit because you have more energy to be there for everyone else. You're more in tune with what their needs are because it's not a hassle. It's more of you want to help them. And most importantly, you start smiling more, which is kind of true. Putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's necessary. How to put yourself first. So that was something that I struggled with. I had to learn that on my own. But you have to preserve your physical health with adequate sleep, exercise, and nutrition. So I'm not the biggest fan of exercise, not the biggest fan of nutrition. So I will never sit here and say that I'm some kind of health buff, because that's just not who I am. But I do understand the importance of it, and I try to find time for that. And when I am exercising regularly, I do feel a benefit. I feel the results of that. I have more energy, I'm more excited, and I love sleep. So there is no need to negotiate sleep with me. I'm good there. But valuing not only your physical health, but your emotional health, and understanding that both of those are important to your overall well-being, and scheduling fun activities on a regular basis. So whether it's just turning off your phone for an hour, or going to get a massage, or sitting by the beach, or going to the harbor for an hour to just kind of escape from life. Some of those things are important. Identify busy behaviors or people that drain your time or energy. So if you notice that every time you come around this person, you just feel so drained, maybe you should limit your time around that person, because that person may be taking more from you than they're giving. And I believe in balance. I feel like it's a very important part of life to make sure that not necessarily tit for tat, but the people that I'm closest to are also naturally givers. I learned this lesson the hard way. One of my friends who, let's just say she's not a giver. Every time I was around her, I felt her taking something from me, whether it was time that I wasn't expecting her. Like she showed up at my house when I was getting ready for work. No phone call, no anything. She just knocked at the door. And with zero regard for my time or what I would be doing. Or she noticed I had 2 copies of one of my movies, and she volunteered to take it. And because I'm a giver, I'm like, okay, well, who am I to say no? Well, I am me to say no. I can say no. So I just learned to limit my interactions with her. And so the people that I'm closest to have a naturally giving heart. And so it's not always about, I do this for you, you do this for me in return. But I know that I'm covered because my core people have the same type of heart. Try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So maybe combining family time with exercise, or fun activities with your partner and having a date night. And instead of just the traditional dinner and movies, which I love dinner and I love movies. I don't know why that's such a cliche. But maybe if you want to go bowling, doing that on a one-on-one basis, or whatever the case. But finding a way to accomplish both of those together. And most importantly, learn how to say no. It is okay to say no. And I used to feel like saying no was such a bad thing, but it's not always. And don't try to change every problem in your life all at once. I definitely did that before, and I tried to work on my diet. I tried to stop watching TV, and I tried to exercise more, and I think I was doing fruits and vegetables only, and then working out 5 times a day. My body basically sat me down. Like, it really was at a point, I think day 2 or something like that, and I was like, I almost passed out because I was starving. And not to say that fruits and vegetables is such a bad diet, but if that's not something your body's used to and you're trying to go completely extreme, and so not only was I doing an extreme diet, but I also did extreme exercise in the process. So it did not pan out well. And like I said earlier, your body will kick in and tell you, sit down. So 4 ways putting yourself first lets you best serve others. When you're at work, the more often that you say yes to your requests, the more requests come in. I think we've all experienced that. And that goes back to managing those boundaries. And so if the first time that they call you at 7 o'clock at night and you answer because it's just 7 o'clock, and then they call at 9 o'clock and you just happen to be up, so you're like, whatever, I'll just answer. Next thing you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you're working on work. Not cool. The biggest issue with doing personal favors within a work environment is not being able to guarantee a consistent response. Put yourself first by deciding on a structure for your intentions and sticking to it. So if you say, I'm not going to answer work calls between this hour and this hour, stick to it. The calls may still come, but if you're like me, your phone goes on do not disturb, and the day continues, or the night in that case. In your relationship, so the danger surfaces when our love goals no longer have anything to do with ourselves and everything to do with pleasing our partner. So you definitely should make attempts to make your partner happy, but they should also be making those attempts to make you happy. It should be a give and take in that type of relationship, and making sure that you still have your own goals for you as well. Put yourself first by keeping your individuality alive and thriving, even as you become intertwined with your partner. So I very much believe in the 2 shall become one, but I also believe you still have different functions within that relationship. So keeping that and making sure that you're still you, and that you have that time to enjoy your friends and family without having to be glued at the hip. You deserve and need as much of your attention as your partner does. So finding that balance. And getting consumed in your relationship means that two people are working on sustaining one. So I'm all about you. You're all about you. And nobody's all about me. So I think, again, it goes back to balance and compromise. With your friends, you can put yourself first by focusing on friendships that stem naturally from your lifestyle. So like I said, I went through a phase where I chose to keep my friends that were similar in nature. So the people who I'm close to now all have really giving hearts. And so I know that emotionally I can be safe with them and that I'm not going to be taken advantage of. You could lose a sense of who you are if you are always willing to give into other people's wants and opinions. So keep that in mind. And the last way that putting yourself first allows you to better serve others is on your own. So hang out with yourself. Learn how to make yourself happy. Set out a small amount of time of yourself for yourself each day and get in touch with yourself. For me, I like to journal. When I'm drained, I like to watch movies, light some candles. I've actually found that coloring is really relaxing. So I'll do that when I'm feeling a lot of stress. Making sure that you have a choice, and not just making sure that you have a choice, but make sure you're exercising your right to choose. Choosing who, what, how, anything interacts with your life. And prioritize yourself into the equation. Don't put everybody else's needs before yours, and you're not even on the list at the end of the day. But listen to your heart and making the time work for you. Finding your purpose, I think, is going to be one of the most helpful tools to putting yourself first. Because once you find your purpose and you understand why you're here on this earth, it motivates you to focus. And not just focus, but focus on yourself a little bit more. Balance is everything. Reignite your motivation daily. And remember that you are important. And so I have a few quotes for us to end with. The first one being, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And that one's from George Bernard Shaw. The next one is, don't forget to love yourself. And with that being said, if you have a topic in mind that I have not covered, please feel free to write your comments below. And I would like to hear how you choose yourself. So if you can write me some of your best topics or best activities that you do to make sure that you're putting yourself first, I would appreciate it. Thanks for staying.